Yeah. Before beginning this, we tried to make a very fun assignment at Immortal. We thought maybe we take up three words and we share a thinking process about doing different things. So I'll be doing environment. Rushil is has done a keyframe design. Devesh has done a character, and Amrit has done a prop design. So what we thought, maybe we take these three words and we chose it from this ongoing series going on Instagram called Inktober. And we thought we'll just pick up three words, which even you guys, if you're watching and if you're interested, you can take this up and create fun things. So today's demo will be more about the thinking and a little bit about the initial sketching process. And then we'll jump directly into what I made up after, I'll just show you the final image that I made up a couple of days back. But we won't be able to share everything details about how to paint, how to do color, because that's beyond the scope of this. So today, because the thinking part is just very important, that's where most of the people face problems, art blocks, and things like that. So let's just begin. So we have the three words, which is fish, radio, and outpost. So these were pretty interesting choice of words, which we thought would make some sense and also help us brainstorm. And what we generally do is after we get these keywords, we try to um, we try to go and make some. We start writing. So writing is very essential. I cannot stress enough how essential it is to write keywords, words that make up uh, these the understanding of keywords, what you understand by these three words. So I made up a small list of words that first came to my mind. I realized I'm going to be doing environment design, and the words were underwater, abandoned, like deep sea, fish bones, coral reefs, vintage outposts, fish varieties, ruins, sea kingdoms. So these are something that were coming on top of my mind. If you're working in if you're working in a, let's say, in a production house, they may have a more stronger direction. But right now, this is a much more free exercise. You can go anywhere you want, which was like a nice, a nice exercise for us also to break free from our daily, work routine. And so this is where we are. And right now, I'll be going forward and starting to do some thinking drawings. My first idea is about what I think these words mean in my head and what I think this this can come out as a visual. So, but before that, before going into drawing, there is something called a reference board. Because as Rushil mentioned earlier, it's good to draw out things out of imagination, but we need to first know what the real world looks like. And hence, I made a small board with images. I hope you can see those images, which are again based on the keywords I wrote down: deep sea, water, things like uh, you see the deep sea creatures on the bottom, which are very beautiful, bioluminescent. They do not get sunlight, so they have a very beautiful uh, look, very beautiful uh, color palette, and a lot of things going on. I've got few images of coral reefs in the bed of the sea, some ruins here and there, some old radio outposts, if you can see here. And I did also take out skeletons of fish bones. So I think these are something which is necessary. I think instead of jumping right into, I know it's very, it's very, very, very hard to control the urge to go and start drawing, isn't it, Rushil? Don't you think it's very when you just
Yeah,
initially start up, you just
yeah,
go
just
and paint?
see, yeah, just like this is what happens. Like you have an idea in mind and you just have to paint it directly. You don't you just get too lazy to find references, but it's always a good idea
Yeah,
to find reference. Yeah, you can just see you like even your wildest imaginations could not think things
exactly.
like these. Like
Yeah,
reality is actually stranger than fiction.
yeah. I think that is overused, but it's still true.
But actually
And
it is true,
so
yeah.
what I, it is true. It is very much true.
You can
So
just
what
see in
I'm
those
going to
images
do
like
is,
like
yeah, yeah,
how can you like imagine some alien planet you can see, like let's say an alien planet. How can you imagine alien planet with these kind of creatures? Like, and we have those creatures, right?
And this is a
It's
spaceship,
too
man. This is
difficult
a
to just
spaceship.
imagine, like, and these designs could be used anywhere. A spaceship could be made out of it. A prop could be made out of it, and this is
Yeah.
how people do, like they
Yeah.
like make different designs out of different things. That's what creativity is, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we are copying these. So people have
Ha.
misconception ki we need to do it from imagination and we need to do this. So, after a while you realize, okay, anyway, your imagination is fueled by something that you already see, something that you already dreamed of, something that you've already seen somewhere in a film or somewhere walking down the street or maybe in photographs. So, it's always necessary to have some sort of a visual vocabulary before putting down the same thing that Rushil talked about, drawing, I think, a mixer grinder. If you never, even if you've seen a grinder, not observed it well, you do not know where the bolt goes, you do not know where the top goes, the cap goes, where the regulator goes. So yeah, so I think it's very necessary. That's why we do have a reference board. So let's
Yeah.
dive in right now.
Yeah.
So I have
You can just
board
dive
on
in.
the
Yeah,
yeah.
Jisha, you can just dive into and start sketching and do the demo. And in the meantime, like we have got a few questions, so we'll just start and answer those. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Sure.
right now, like Devesh and Amrit will also join us uh, answering the
Perfect.
questions. So
Yeah.
yeah, we three will answer the
Yeah.
questions. All right.
Perfect.
No.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
I'll be doing some thinking drawings, and after a while, you can start taking up those questions, and it
All
would be
right.
great for you to,
All right. All right. All
collect
right. Yeah.
answers. Cool. So I'm
Yeah.
just starting out. All right, guys. So I have my keywords here, and now something we call thinking drawings. So I'll just write it here. It's called thinking. I hope you see my screen well. Don't fuss about the handwriting. Uh, yeah.
Rishabh, what you can do is if you
Right.
have like another screen, you can put those references on another screen, so
Okay.
your
Cool.
drawing area is maximized.
Perfect. Let me do
Yeah,
this. Is
because
it
like
good?
you have already shown the references.
Yeah. So is it good now?
Yeah, it's better. It's better.
Perfect. So okay. So I realized I wanted to do something. I can see. Okay, guys, you cannot see this references, but I can. It's on the separate screen, and I can see all those antennas, all those radio towers everywhere. So please bear with me while I sketch. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make really small sketches about things that want to see in my environment. And it's not supposed to be the final thing. It's supposed to be just for myself. Even before going down in deciding, okay, this is what I want to design, I need to make some very basic understanding how it should look like. So the initial idea that came into my mind was when I saw that jellyfish. I thought the jellyfish might work as a really nice um, place to start exploring ideas. What if this jellyfish is actually a floating radio tower for people like fishes, for fishes and schools of fishes who are living underwater and they have their things inside? See, these paintings might not mean anything to you right now. See, these drawings, I mean, but these are something for you to do when you're trying to flesh out ideas. So this might go as wild you can, or as as crazy you want to, but these are something that I'm just trying to figure out. So this is inside the sea. We have these huge
Yeah,
bubbles.
the goal here is to get the idea out of your mind onto the paper. Basically, this is the goal here. It's not.
Perfect.
It doesn't need to look. It doesn't need to look like pretty or something. It just
Right.
need to convey the idea. That's it.
Yeah, it's the sea floor, it's the seabed. Sometimes I did people who are in charge, but normally this is just for yourself to figure out, okay, what am I
Yeah.
even trying to do? So this might not even make sense to you at first and things like that. I'll just go into the quick list. It's very quick. You should not spend a lot of time doing this. I mean, on one piece, but you need to spend time on thinking. and that's a really important thing to do. And I think this one was something like a floating. It's very organic. It's very organic. Floating jelly radio towel, which is very wild. Something here I find okay. I want it to be underwater, so why not? Let's make a nice seabed, and I find a beautiful coral reef here. And I think this particular reef is actually constructed by some intelligence way back underwater, which we haven't seen. So I'm trying to make it look like the antenna, this big disc sort of a thing on the top. I'm trying to figure out what this thing can mean. Whether they were communicating, you build up a story in your head as you go. They're communicating with something. They had a thing which is now completely lost, and there is a diver here who's diving and he's observing this thing, and there are some ruins of ships around here. So maybe oh yeah, the Bermuda Triangle. The ships are sunk, and it might be because of this particular piece of radio tower which was existed by the fish colonies. Who knows? I think Rushil gets excited by these kind of conspiracy theories, but there is no conspiracy, guys. It's just
Yeah.
an exercise. So I'm trying to say if these are discs of coral. So I just write. It's very quick. Don't worry about perspectives. Do not worry about what you, if this is the final image, if it's pretty enough again and again. So you just have to figure out what it's in your head and just go and draw. Look at your references, find out things that excite you. A lot of fish bones I see, and I think of a desert now, uh, which has dunes. So we excavate dinosaur bones, but now we see fish bones. So maybe these bones are being found out, discovered during excavation site, and these bones, I don't know if they have radio or something, but it's just the top of my head. I might not even end up using this. Just an idea about finding those huge fish bones in the middle of a desert, because desert was a time a huge ocean millions of years ago, and maybe there are certain areas which have these things, and people are finding it out. I don't know. Yeah. So just out of the blue, and there may be very small little tentacle-like antennas coming out. Who knows? Might look very different. I'm just, yeah, I might just end up rejecting this. Anyway, no more time on this. Let's jump in. I see a water hole. I think that was something. I think I'll just show you that reference once again. You see this water hole. This was a man-made hole. I actually accidentally found out near a reservoir in a lake. But I just started wondering what if you have a waterfall? What if you have a waterfall in the middle of the ocean, which is a very nice, you know, way to think about it. So I have my
It
ocean
already
here.
looks so cool, right?
It already
Having a
does.
having a huge hole
Yeah,
like just between the river, right? It
yeah,
already
and
looks so interesting. Like, yeah,
you don't have to even like do anything about it. It's just there. It's just there. These are like water holes. Water is gushing in, and maybe there is something. coming out of it. There's an old radio tower. I don't know, like a huge disk, which we haven't seen in ages, but it's there. But it's there. And currently we have found them because of these holes. They start appearing out of nowhere. The ship is here and is trying to find out about this thing. What the hell is this thing? Yeah. It's a lot of things. If you check out because it's starting to be a little mysterious, little ominous. You can check out a lot of things in environment and nature, like now.
Like you have to do many, so you know which one is better. Is it the first one, or is it the last one?
Very true. I think, yeah, it's very subjective also. You might end up having the best drawing, the first drawing, or sometimes you do like 10 million drawings and your art director is not happy with you. I think it's it's a very, you cannot judge it. You literally cannot judge it or assume anything. And I think that's what makes the process a little frustrating at times, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and this I'm trying to do something like a sunken ship, which has like this towering fish bones, and they may have mutated in some way to send some sort of signal. So I'm just trying. It looks like a rib cage now. That's how the bones are. So who knows what this might be. So I'm not worrying about fundamentals. I'm not worrying about my line quality also. It's really not good. But again, that's not the point here. The point is to find out what your ideas are. Very rough ones.
You can take more. Yeah, you can take the best idea out of this and like always make it look better. But right now the point is to get the idea.
Right. Very true. Let's just do some more direct appropriation of that. So I think this may be again a desert.
Rishabh, I would like to ask you something. Do you think that in this stage we need to be a bit focused on framing and composition things?
You can, but personally, I don't think, because at this point it's just very rough. Or what I would do personally is I would do it as rough as I can to just imagine, just for myself, what I want to do. And the next stage will be something called a black and white thumbnail, which we are going to go in a while. And that's where I decide a little better, I feel, in terms of composition, in terms of camera angle, in terms of, whatever there is. And I think it's a very personal thing also. Whatever you want, if you're great at doing both, by no means I'm going to tell you, no, you should. But for me, I don't think I worry a lot about, composition at this stage, because it doesn't matter to me right now. So, yeah. So this is, I find, like a very rocky structure that I found on the references. It's like a very rocky, hardcore base. And there are this glowing, and I like this really nice bioluminescent skeleton. So why not try to figure out a structure? So I'm repeatedly doing a very bony structure because that's what in my head right now is in my head. And to figure out this. And this is not underwater though. There is some secret way somewhere. People are doing some crazy stuff by using this. Imagine it to be very translucent, glowing at night. It's an outpost somewhere during war. You can always do a human being just to figure out how big it is, how small it is. Just to have a scale reference. This guy is floating here because he's scuba diving or something. He's like exploring this.
Rishabh, can you speak a bit louder?
Oh, sorry. Am I audible now?
You are audible, but like the volume is like a little low.
Okay, wait.
Yeah, right now it's fine.
No, it's fine.
All right, it's all right, all right. So maybe I'll do a couple of sketches and directly choose one of these and jump into my black and white thumbnails. Right. So I'm just gonna do one more idea. Okay. Let me just show you that reference again. I love this fish mouth here. It's coming out to be really weird. On this dome looks very interesting. I haven't used that idea. So I think there might be, again, this is above water, but I'm gonna use that same waterfall thing. And let's see what I can come up with. There's a huge waterfall here. And I see a big dome in the middle of the ocean. And this corals are underground. What are they doing above the ocean? Isn't it weird? It looks like a Sputnik. It's like those in the first satellite that we see. Now that I see, I remember that. It looks like Sputnik 1. Yeah, so I'm just wondering what it might do.
Yeah, doesn't it already make it look cool?
I mean, yeah. Just trying to give it a little organic. What the hell is this? Looks like a trophy also. But anyway, it's the right time to do wrong drawings and get away with it. Nobody's going to judge you. Because, most of the time, this process is not shown. You have a lot of demos out there. Lot of people will tell you how to paint and draw. So that's what we're not going to do today. Because that's something you can always learn on your own, and you can find a lot of resources for free. But how to think, how to go about it is something which is very, very difficult to even explain. So this is somewhat I would go with my bunch of crazy illustrations. I think I really like the blue holes idea. And maybe I take this idea and develop this structure more in black and white terms. So I'm going to quickly show you how I go about it, how I go about finding these shapes. And I'll just copy this.
Yeah, it's a really nice point here. You just don't have to take one of these thumbnail. You can take ideas from each other, like mix it and bash it together.
You can combine any two. Very true.
You can combine ideas as well, like out of those ideas that you got here. You can combine different ideas. If you like one thing from one and like other thing from the other, you can just combine those together and make a new idea, which could be much better.
Yeah, I think he's very right about that. And so I think I really like the blue hole idea. And then I really like the coral radio disc thing here. So maybe I'll take these two and I'll see what I can come up with. So I have these two thumbnails on this side. Okay. Just for a bit of reference, I still have my reference board on, guys. So you don't have to worry about that. I'm not doing it. You always have a reference on your side. I'll be showing it to you from time to time, but okay. Now it's a process where we finally define the shape, or what we call a silhouette. And a silhouette is just a black shape of anything that you see. It's not 3D. This is very 2D idea. When this shape becomes into 3D, it becomes something called a form. When we finally flesh it out in 3D, we figure out a 3D dimension to it. Like a circle is a shape, while the 3D form of a circle would be a sphere, right? So this is like a basic understanding of what a silhouette is and things like that. So let's dive in. I just show you how I begin. I might not even draw, use a lasso tool a lot. So to begin shape, so what I'll do, I'll try to do some basic shapes. I'm not going to talk about techniques a lot, because it's not that kind of a thing here. But I would like to do some basic black and white thumbnails of what this structure might look like. So here I am primarily thinking about balancing shapes, context of it. What does this thing look like from the references? Also making it look like it means something, not like bubblegum flies, not like a spaceship, which is a bubblegum. So this is something I already have and already done it. So just trying to figure out what this can mean.
So this is where in this step, your fundamentals and design thinking come into play.
Right.
Like right now you are designing this shape. So here you need to know what the design fundamentals are and apply those fundamentals.
Yeah. So I'm doing like a standing structure of this tower. It's like a disc. So I'm going with this disc idea and trying to explore the shapes. I still do not know anything about the details. But as Rushil mentioned, these things are there because you know the fundamentals and you're already aware of how shapes work and how everything works in terms of design and art-wise. So you have some idea about what's going on. So, I'll go on, I'll explore a lot of these. In the meantime, you guys, because you guys understand this process, so I'll be doing a lot more of them now. In the meantime, you can just go ahead and answer some questions if we have.
Yeah.
I think from the audience. Great.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions. Yeah. So, the first question is, like, I won't say the name from whom the question is so that people, aren't scared to ask questions. I'll just, yeah. So I'll just say the question. So first is, we have heard from our college teachers about studio professionals give 1 to 2 month training to fine artists and give them concept artist job. Is this true?
Oh, we didn't get any of those. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me answer.
Yeah.
This didn't happen to any of us. So yeah, we cannot tell much about it, if it's true or not. But the thing is, if you are a fine artist, then your fundamentals are there, basically. And you know how things look, how to paint, you know the technical things, and a little bit of thinking, you know. So what those studio professionals do, could be doing, like, we don't know if that's true, but they could be doing is train you in a way to come up with ideas quicker, train you with concept art techniques. So this could be true, but even for that, you have to have those skills first. Like you have to be able to think at least, and you have to be able to draw, paint, you need to have those fundamentals there. So it's like a short answer, which I think should answer it.
And I think also,
what do you guys think?
Yeah.
1 to 2 months is very less period, I think, to learn this kind of fundamentals also.
Yeah, it is less, but the fine art students already have those down, right? Already have those fundamentals down. So the studio might be just teaching them to come up with ideas quickly. That's it.
Yeah, to generate those ideas and all.
Yeah, but we have never seen this, but it could be happening in like industries, in South Indian films, and where there are a lot of movie productions happening. So this could be happening. Like, we are not sure about it, but this could be happening. All right. So second question is it necessary to learn 2D animation before learning 3D animation? Any of you want to take it?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's actually necessary because it's a traditional medium and it's easier to learn the principles of animation. Like, it's faster to learn the 12 principles and the fundamentals on paper. And also it's very
Okay.
intuitive, but in 3D, I think it's difficult. So yeah.
What you are saying is basically you need to have knowledge about motion, like how things move,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's much more important than drawing it. Like you could not be drawing, you can just be observing how people are moving, how like someone is doing some action. You don't have to be able to draw those perfectly, but you need to be able to understand it if it's looking correct or not. And that comes with observation. If you observe a lot and like watch a lot of things and observe how the mechanics are working of a human body, or in that case any animal or robot or whatever, but the important thing is our understanding those mechanics, how things move basically. So it's not completely necessary always to learn 2D animation first, but it always helps to just simplify the process a bit. Like if you're just doing in 3D, you have to make sure about coordinates and everything, but when you are just doing 2D, you can just draw gestures, different gestures, and that's drawing gestures is, I think, a really good practice to train your eye and brain to able to learn those movements and mechanics. So that's how you bridge the gap. It's not that's where the 2D thing comes in place. Like you see
It will be
something,
very
you draw
technical.
it.
In 3D, it will be very technical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just see it and you just draw
I
it.
would like to add something on this, Kushil.
Yeah. All right.
So
Yeah.
to
Go ahead.
learning 2D animation is always better because at first you are introduced to the flows and how actually the real human body or real life works, and the flow and the rhythmic thing that we have, or the thing around us that are going, that are really easier for us to understand in 2D. And after learning that, we can jump into the 3D part, so that those things we have learned from the 2D and the environment around us can be implemented on 3D for a better output results.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I just one more point, Rushil, on this.
Sure.
Especially, in India, there are good schools who teach great 2D animation and filmmaking. And personally, I would suggest what he mentioned very clearly is understanding, celebrating motion is something very important before even understanding animation. You can do animation in like 3Ds has become a lot easier now. You can do things in Blender, you can do things in Maya, you can do things a lot. But you need to understand those fundamentals. Again, how do you know to move something if you do not know what that thing actually looks like or moves like? So I think that thing is better if you go 2D first, but it's not necessary. If you already have an idea, if you know how things move, things do, or somehow, I think you can do that.
So the important thing is learning the fundamentals of like exaggeration and all the making the animation more beautiful.
Yeah. Those animation principles and knowing how to apply those animation principles, be it 2D or 3D. Like that's not the point. 2D or 3D is just the tool.
It's just the tool.
It's just
At the end of the day, it's you have to move things, and it's not about moving things. It's about bringing them to life.
Yeah.
Anyone can move a certain object, but
you can do clay animation, right? If you know the motion, you can do clay animation.
That's also
it's not about 2D or 3D.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Does concept art every time needs to be workable, or it be logically correct? Any one of you guys?
Didn't get that question.
I didn't get that.
Okay. So, like, it's saying the concept art needs to be workable, or should it be logically correct? So basically, what he's trying to say, I think, is
believable.
Believable.
I think that's what he. I'll just start with it. You guys can continue. I mean, like,
sure.
Workable means like if you can fool an engineer that it's actually a very rough idea, but practically it doesn't work.
I mean, there is this idea of having work form. There are two principles that we normally learn is called form follow function and function follow form. So normally when you have something like, okay, we need to design a helicopter and we need to make it look like this, and we have the such elements, we have to look like this fancy stuff. But now it may or may not work in your real world, but it should be believable enough to understand, okay, its function. Like you watch Interstellar, the spaceship, it is totally a set design. It's nothing is done on paper. It looks like it's a real spaceship, and I think it might work, and I'm not very sure about it. But there are things which are totally like Pacific Rim. You have those robots, Transformers, which are more believable than more practical. I think, yeah. So no, it doesn't have to be, workable all the time. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, it's for the entertainment purpose. Basically, we want to entertain. Yeah.
Yeah. So it should look like it works, but it shouldn't be like physically correct. Like it's not necessary it to be physically correct. Like you are not an engineer right now, right? You are an artist, so you have to fake that technical thing. Like you have to fake it like it's able to work. So how you do that? Take a reference of the thing that you are trying to make it and understand what makes it look like believable.
Workable.
So,
believable and workable. Actually.
Yeah, exactly. So just like Rishabh said, you take an helicopter. So how does it work basically? So there is this like what do you call those rotating fan? Helicopters.
The rotors.
Yeah, rotators. Yeah. So you have those fans, helicopter fan. So you take that because that helps it to levitate.
Yeah.
So you just put it. Helicopter has a aerodynamic shape. You make an aerodynamic shape, right? So you make an aerodynamic shape. You make you have those fan. I don't know the technical term right
It's a rotor. I think it's a rotor blade. That's what they call it.
Yeah,
rotor blade. Yeah. So you just put a rotor blade on it, and like that's it. Like it can look workable now.
Actually, I would like to add some more in this.
Yeah.
See, the point is, you can draw each and everything, but to do a concept art, you need to resolve what you are making, what you are going to make. If it is like spaceship, you need to know where in the space this thing is going to fly or go to which planet or something like that. Or if you are going to design a car or vehicle, you need to know where in this place this thing is going to, what do we say? People are going
function,
to use this
work.
thing. Yeah, work actually measure thing. So to know each and everything
context,
logically, you need to solve those things first before jumping into the drawings. You need to know the ideas regarding the workable things and the engine and the all, but not in that deep way, but to make the things logical and believable.
You just have to like fool the audience basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think
is my screen visible, guys? Is it visible?
Yeah.
Some internet issues. Okay, I'll just start saying this. I have done a few thumbnails here now. You see these black and white thumbs, which show some sort of a form, some sort of a language to it. What I mean, you might understand whatever this is, and I might use a small human for reference, for scale. I'll just do one more, and then I'll show you what I have made finally, and then we move on to these guys who have already made something out of it. They can discuss their own process, and they can discuss what they were thinking while they were doing it. So yeah, so this is almost, I think I could do more for the sake of demonstration. I think we'll just do one more. If you see, we have these disc shapes which are quite believable. There are some things which are not so believable, and there are things which are much more
One more thing, like really nice point, like I saw there. What makes a thing look believable is take 80% real life and add 20% the twist.
Yeah, that's a nice way to sum it.
So basically, that's how
guys,
you do
it's not literally 80-20.
Yeah.
It's
and you can also
what we try.
Yeah, you can also combine two unexpected ideas. That will also make a very unique concept, basically.
Yeah. So this, like, function wise, it's like you can follow this. You don't have to be really rigid about it, but it is like take 80% of the real thing and put it with 20% of your imagination, or just twist it a bit. That would make it look believable. That's what I see in those like antenna that you show.
Films.
Like,
I think,
in this antenna that you have made, right? So it's like all like it looks like almost similar to a real antenna, but there is a twist to it. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's his very like nicely put, that 80-20 principle, and I believe that's actually a good way to start having ideas. The basic point is like you should have a lot of fun doing these. I mean, this is the part where you get maximum freedom, and not all of us get this kind of freedom all the time, because there are strict deadlines. There are this thing, you may just have to jump into things pretty quickly, and who knows what kind of production you're working in. So it's a good chance for us to even come back to these, which feels like we're having like a tea party and like chilling and like making these fun, this thing. But this is the time when you get mentally exhausted a lot because you're thinking continuously, and you're trying to figure out how it works. You're trying to figure out if this makes any sense, or if this falls into the category of whatever you're trying to do, or it solves any problem. So all these things, you do it on the back of your mind, but you show it on the paper, you show it on your drawings. That's why this thing becomes important here, where we continuously think and draw and think and draw and think and draw. Like this particular structure, the last structure I'm drawing is like this very porous corals. They don't have a lot of they have a lot of empty spaces between them, but you see that it forms like a very organic structure which maybe holds the whole thing together. So maybe something like this, but it's not quite balanced. So maybe I'll use something like to balance out here. Yeah. So guys, I think we are done with the major 5 thumbnails, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And you see the scale of it. I'll draw a human so you understand how big these things are. Some things are not as big. Some are really huge. And this is the biggest one. It's almost like a stadium, right? So I went through this, and this is something we do with different ways. We do the same thing with characters. Also, it's a good way to start exploring, ideas. Then we have this. What I did is I took something similar to this in the past, and I made it into something like a final image. I won't be sharing all the steps, but I'll be showing you before the others move into it. Okay, are you seeing my screen? Yeah. Is this visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's looking really awesome, man.
Cool. So, what I did now is apply my art fundamentals, my understanding to that disc shape. I'd made it into look like a coral here, which is, you see, it's not at all detailed. It's very much, very loose at this point of time. So I just cleared some basic perspective, figure out what is happening. It's a bright sunny day where there's a waterfall here in the middle of the ocean where a person is coming, driving a boat, and just you see the whole thing. Which is like a coral with an antenna sticking out of it, which is emerging out of the ocean. So this idea I took forward, and you can do a lot more detailed stuff with this. You can go ahead, make it photoreal or whatever style you like to do, or whatever your requirements are.
So this is basically like a rough painting. So you can show it to to your art director or whatever. So the idea is there, and basic, like, all of the fundamentals are there in this piece. So it looks believable right now. Like, you can see this in a movie. So, like, if you get approval on this, you can just always work on it much more, refine each and everything. But it's still a work in progress piece. It's not a finished thing. But it depends. Like, for a production, it depends. Like, they can take it as uh, finished as well. Like, to them, the idea is there, and they can just take it forward because lighting is there, all the colors are there. So like, it's almost there. It's just those fine details which you may or may not have to work on.
Right,
it depends on the production.
Very perfectly, because every production has its own challenges, their own way of working. And this is something I was comfortable in around 1.5 hours or 2 hours, where I was just like, let's flesh it out and let's see how it's there, and maybe sometime later we can do the same or take it forward. So yeah, guys, this is
So
something
basically-
we have.
Basically, all this work, like what he did, those research, exploration, and this painting, this is about a 1 day of work. Like, in 1 day, you are able to like do exploration and just like do a like work in progress painting out of it. So it's like a 1 day of work. So you just spend 1 day on it, and you just deliver it to client and see how he likes it or not. And if not, you can just work on another idea. It's not that finished. You haven't spent so much time on it. And also, one thing is that it's not your art piece, basically, when you are working for production. What you're doing for production is for production. It's not your art piece. So always be ready to throw it away.
Yeah. Don't make it your baby and you like your sweetheart.
Basically, the point is don't attach yourself with the artwork.
Right. Exactly.
Very perfect. That's exactly what we meant. And I think, that's about it for me. And this is what I did for the environment design for this particular coral reef, like an antenna sticking out of it, like an outpost in the middle of the ocean. Okay, now I would jump in.
Wait a minute. Like, let's explain what environment design is for.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I did here is something called an environment design. It doesn't necessarily speak. It can, but it doesn't necessarily have to speak about the mood, the part of story, what's happening to the character. This is something that we generally call an establishment shot in a film, where we see a particular environment, where we start. If you can imagine Pandora, when the two jets, they're streaming inside the atmosphere of in Avatar, and then you notice the first green forests. There are big those cranes working and mining stuff. So that's where you establish what the world is. What is this area? What are we seeing? What's the scale of this? This is something we call establishment, where we establish, okay, this is your world. Your story is going to take place in this world. And hence we design. Somebody has to design this world, the elements in the world, to make it believable, because your story is based here, or a part of the story is based here. You can find a lot of these shots in movies like Star Wars and places. When you have a new location, when you have the Gangnam City in episode 1, I guess, when you go in Star Wars, you realize an underwater city. You just establish, okay, wow, it's a bubble and it's a city. So yeah, I mean, that's about it in a very brief way. And I think Rushi is going to
I think let's do Devesh. Like,
okay, let's do Devesh.
Yeah,
I think.
Sure.
Because also, like, can we do it a little quicker? It's already 3 o'clock, and like,
I think let's do
questions to cover.
Let's finish this and we go for Q&A.
Yeah.
So the brief, So the brief were radio, fish, and outpost. And I imagine basically a fisherman, a chilled out fisherman carrying a radio somewhere on the outpost, and basically doesn't have any tension of any material world, or like very chilled out there, just enjoying a day. And so that after I took basically references on the internet, and these are the references on the left. And so basically after finding some of the references, I move on to the silhouettes stage, and I think it's very interesting to get some shape ideas and shape design initially. So I started with silhouettes, and after that I do some sketches over the silhouettes to get some more fleshed out ideas. Yeah, and basically I selected the second one because I thought it felt really the body language and the gesture were very accurate to what I was thinking, and so I decided to finish it off and added some colors over that. And after that, like basically once the character is approved, then the stage is like modeling. You have to make a model sheet, and on the model sheet you have to
you have to make a model sheet like from all the angles. I was thinking
from all the angles, 3/4 and front view and everywhere, and so that the modelers will get clear understanding of how they're going to make it and proceed for further production pipeline.
Perfect, Devesh. I think this is good knowledge that we have. Let's move on to Amrit. He did a prop here. Go ahead, Amrit.
So I designed a prop, fishing outpost. The major points, key points are same as you have seen in others, like radio, fishing, and fish and outpost. So I have designed some silhouettes at the beginning for the better understanding of shapes and the things that are required to balance those shapes. And after that, I took a better shape from all those 5 pieces, and I merged 2 of them and tried to design something and to get a better output from those design actually. And after that, I took some references for the detailing part so that I can keep those things grounded and things could look better. Yeah, so that's it.
Cool. Perfect, Amrit. It's an amazing thing to look at, and you can always go ahead and do more things about it. Okay, we'll move on with Rushil. Let's just briefly talk about it. Yeah.
All right. So I did keyframe design. So what is a keyframe now? So keyframe is what sells the mood and how the final could look like. So there are 2 parts in which the keyframe design is applicable in the production. So first is when you are doing the pitching, when you pitch the IP, when you pitch the story, that time you do keyframe designs to sell your story, like how it could look fine in the final. And another case comes where like everything is designed and you have to show how it will look in the movie. So basically keyframe is where some action is taking place or some story moment is happening. So something is happening. Like as we see in the environment design, it's different. Like environment design, you just have a shot where all the elements are just designed. But in keyframe, the design of individual element doesn't matter much. In keyframe design, what matters more is how the shot looks, like the camera angle, and also like the framing, the mood, the colors of the shot. So those are more important points in a keyframe design. So second time, when all of the environment is designed, then you take those elements there and just design a shot in them. In that space, you place characters and design that shot. So these are the references that I took. Took some like interesting radio, some for mood and color, how I want it to be. And then I did a few like really rough sketches. Like all these 5 sketches took me maybe about hour and a half. So the first one is like more getting into the design. Second one is more into the shot. Like it's just the basic design. So it's more of an environment, not keyframe. So that's why I didn't choose that. Second one is like a dish antenna, which is on an outpost, is opening some sort of a portal, something. So that's another idea. And these are all the other ideas. Like I also took I took like jellyfish as the main thing because it has really nice shapes and like those interesting tentacles. And yeah, so I took this one, the middle one, because I really liked the shot and like it gave that ominous feel to it. And then
Right.
I went ahead and did a black and white thumbnail of it, just like the process like Rishabh showed. So this is the design of it, basically, like how the shot might look in the final. So I designed that, placed some characters, designed the lighting of it, designed the whole mood of it. Yeah, that's it, like on black and white. And then I took it a bit further and I did this. So it's still a work in progress. So it's this how it could look like in the final, but it is still work in progress. It's not like a portfolio piece that I could put because I'm not happy with some of the things right now, which I might later work on it and post it on social media so you guys can check it out. You guys can follow us on Instagram, ArtStation, like other places, and I'll just put this piece over there when I finish it out. But yeah, this is for the how the process goes. It's really similar to how Rishabh showed it to you, but yeah. So this took me about one day. Yeah, that's like same. 1 day of a time to make something like this from scratch. Like
perfect.
Yeah.
I think we've had a lot of stuff we've shown and talked about, and we should actually jump in, and it's been beautiful stuff. And I think we should better jump into questions. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can switch on your videos. And let's just drop in and do some really nice questions. And Amrit, if you have those questions already, let's just start with it.
Yeah. So
the next question was, wait, let me find it.
There is this question of grayscale composition. Rushil, can you go through this?
So he's asking, what is the process of for the grayscale composition made in those thumbnails? I mean, how is the lighting decided and color values? So there are two things here. First are fundamentals. Obviously, like they are everywhere. First are fundamentals, then your story, then your references. Like story is like you have that in back of your mind, and then you have your mood board, basically. So you take those mood board and like get a feel of it, how the thing looks, and you, based on the fundamentals that you have learned, you compile those and make it into a thumbnail. So we couldn't like do a complete process of it, but like Rishabh showed a bit of how to create those thumbnails. Yeah, so because of limited time, we couldn't show the whole process.
Right.
But yeah, we are still like a bit short on time here.
Right. So we have some half an hour left to. So I'll just go into the next question. So, which is, if anyone has specialized perfectly in 2 to 3 department very finely, can he do a job of 2 to 3% at a time and in same studio? I think we briefly answered this question before also, where, it depends. It depends on what kind of a studio it is, how big it is. Normally it happens. So if you go to a very big studio, the roles are much more specific, and you have to make a choice. If you show 30% of your work in a portfolio, they might even get confused because the job requirement might be in a very specific field, like let's say background design. And then you apply with a portfolio which has less background and more characters. So it all depends on where you're applying. But obviously there are generalists. There are people who do everything. But normally it takes a lot of time if you can flesh out all these ideas as soon, because it's all about timing and production flow. So if you are an asset, obviously you do 5 things. But generally in bigger studios, it is the opposite way.
And also, if you like to do 2 to 3 kind of things, and if you are interested to do the job, then it's completely up to you. Yeah, depends on the person. Yeah.
And also, sometimes what happens is if you are doing multiple jobs, so it gets a bit like frustrating for you as well, because the studio wants you all the time. they want you to do one thing, then they just want you to do another thing. So you can have those in your portfolio, but what we would suggest is that you cater your portfolio towards where you are applying it for the job, basically.
I would suggest that it would be better if you would invest your total time and efforts to develop a better portfolio in a certain criteria rather than going for a varieties of things. It would be better if you are targeting towards a certain area, like if you are going towards the character or going towards just an environment. It will be really better. But at the end of the day, if you are going to join smaller studios, they will allow you with the work of both the things like character. You need to do the characters as well as prop as well as environment. So the thing is, you need to know each and everything, but it's not necessary to keep all those things into your portfolio for the betterment.
Perfect. Anything? Should I go to the next question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a very interesting question. It's like, if fine art is essential for concept art, if yes, then what about other students not from the fine art background? I think we can all speak about it. Why don't you start, Amrit? Do you need fine art background to start doing concept
art? Doing fine arts is something like you are going to get each and every fundamental things to enhance your artwork, to beautify the things, and things like color theory and the compositions and framing. You are going to know each and everything. But the thing is, like, getting into the concept art, it is beneficial for you. It is really beneficial for you. But concept art is a bit different than the designing the final beautiful output. It's really different.
I think we already discussed that.
Yeah.
Illustration was just concept art.
Yeah.
And one more thing, none of us have a fine art degree. So that answers your question.
I think I went to a design school, and that was nothing to do with concept art. I think none of these people went to places where what they're doing right now. And there is yet to be like education sector which is yet to grow, which does, because if we have an industry that big, we have education for that. So it's always about problem solving, because I come from a background where I did product design and accessories, where the major focus was on solving problems, which helped me in doing art. Because art, you can always learn. You can learn the fundamentals. You're 40 years old, you're 60 years old, you're 20 years old, you're 10 years old. So don't worry about that. But if you are going from a fine art background, it always is a good thing if you have some art knowledge, which you have to learn anyway. So I mean, if you guys have anything else to...
It's always better to have something rather than to have nothing. Actually,
you have to learn it eventually. So there is no way out. You cannot escape. But you don't have to go through 4 years of college learning this to do this. So there is no requirement of degree. We haven't shown our degrees to anybody who asked for work. So
like my degree is still with the college itself. Like I haven't got my degree from there.
That's cool. Okay. Now we have another question. Okay, so do directors only provide the script to produce concept art, or does his team do the R&D and give the artist some more details or references to move on with? And the second part of the question is how to choose color scheme for any concept art.
Oh, that is a different question. Yeah,
that's a different question. Okay, the first question. Okay, do we just get the script and people say, okay, do whatever we want, or do we get some more things along with it? So, Devesh, why don't you?
Yeah, it depends on the studio, depends on the art director and the team. And also, if you don't get a script, then you should ask to get a script, I think. Because it's very also it's also important to understand the setting, the context, the world building, and how are the characters, what they are doing, what are their intentions, what is the backstory. All these kind of things will help you to make the world more grounded and believable. So I think, yeah, you should ask.
Yeah. But sometimes what happens is they don't have a script yet. They just want to pitch the idea. So what they do is like they give you a brief, small brief, and that's why they hire you to get those ideas, like do the reference gathering and that stuff.
Yeah.
So there are both types of jobs. So it's not always the one.
I think, yeah, what we take from this is it all depends on who your director is and how he or she is wanting to, provide you. Sometimes they don't do anything. They just tell you keywords about some moments in story. Go ahead, make something. Sometimes they have everything down, back to the details of a nut. So I think sometimes it depends how clear the vision is, the director's vision. So yeah, that answers. I think the second part of the question is how to choose color scheme for any concept art project. Personally, again, it's not a very black and white question. It's not like I tell you do this. Concept art, how do we tackle this? It's like, okay, you need to understand how colors work, first of all, before jumping on schemes, because we have all these written down theories about complementary color scheme, tertiary, split complementary, this and that, and those are just created for you to understand how the colors feel against each other. They're not by any means a rule or a formula. It's not like I think about that piece, I say, no, I will do a complementary color scheme, so I'm going to do this. But it's more like the other way around. When you solving something, you realize an evening shot, and I realize, okay, it has more reds and purples. Then I think that becomes analogous color scheme on its own. But you don't have to, you can force it, but I don't think there is a right or wrong way about it.
Also, I would like to add a bit. It all depends on story. It all depends on the kind of mood you want to convey. Right. So that decides what your colors would be. I can take an example from what I did as a keyframe. So I wanted to get a ominous feel to it. So that's why I did a glowing purple thing in the center. So purple, pinkish thing. So it gives more ominous feel to it. And have some mysterious feel to it. I used a bit of blues in the background. So it's always the story. It's always how you want the mood to be. And just study what kind of colors convey what kind of mood. So that will help a lot to you.
Yeah, you can also take inspiration from the films or for the story you want to convey. And you can just take inspiration of the colors and copy the colors and make your own, basically. Yeah.
Perfect. So I think, I think this is pretty much clear. For the next question, which is something we've been asking, something people have asked us all the time. And so it's like, do you have a specific style of art? Or do you want to prefer to one style, or do you want to explore unique styles? Why don't you start, Amrit, on this?
Yeah, sure. So the thing is, having a specific art style is really good. It's really good for yourself and for the Instagram thing and for your own advertisement and thing. But the thing is, like, I would always suggest to have your mindset in such a way that you can develop each and every art style, or you can get into each and every art style and things, so that as per the studio requirements goes, you can manipulate yourself, or you can adapt yourself according to those things. That would be really beneficial for you. And sticking to a single art style is good, but not in a professional way, until and unless you are making it as a profession, or you are going to make it as a profession for yourself.
I think, yeah, you're right there. Just add on to that, because that's the difference. If you are an illustrator, do whatever you want to do. Like if you go to some of our pages, even if my page, I do a lot of illustration work, which is my own style, and I keep exploring it. But for concept, it's not for you yourself. It's for the other person's vision. And hence, whatever that vision requires, very realistic, very Disney-esque, non-Disney-esque, Japanese, French, you need to be able to adapt. That adaptability is what people fail to understand. He's like, okay, I want to do Disney. I just want to go there. Great, do it. Nobody's telling you no. You will, but ending up in Disney, if that's your only goal, then do it. But the thing is, if you're versatile, you can adapt in every situation, and because that's, I think, is more efficient. Devesh?
Yeah, but it's also very difficult to become versatile and study all lots of styles, and also there are very rare person who have different kind of styles and catering to different studios.
Also, one more thing I would like to add: it's not like that difficult to adapt to another style if you know the fundamentals. If you know fundamentals, like a person is always gonna look like that only. Like a person will gonna have a face, they will have a body, they will have legs, they will have two eyes. So if you know your anatomy, your perspective, and those art fundamentals, you can adapt your style. Like it happens with me all the time. Like sometimes I want to do like really finished, like really super realistic stuff. Sometimes I want to do more painterly stuff. Like you can see on my Instagram, I'm doing some stylized stuff as well. Like I'm doing some stylized paintings as well, realistic. It's a mix. It depends on what I'm interested on that day. It doesn't have to be like the sole thing that you are doing.
I think, that's pretty much removes the confusion on this. We have one more question here, which, sometimes it happens that the camera angle in concept art, which we visualize well, but we are unable to imply it in our artwork. So how do we solve that problem? Rushil, do you want to start?
Yeah. So there is this gap between you and your artwork. This is it, because you have a really pretty image in your mind and you are just not able to convey it on the paper or on the screen. So the gap is between you and the art is fundamentals. Yeah, like
if we say fundamental one more time, people are going to like stop watching.
But yeah, that's the core thing, right? Fundamental is the core thing, because those 5 fundamentals and those design fundamentals are the thing. Because if you want camera angle, what happens for camera angle? You need to have good perspective knowledge and how a camera works. Like these are 2 things, like camera lenses, like how much distorted the perspective will be if the focal length is shorter, and how much like flatter it would be if the focal length is longer. So these are just the part of fundamentals. So if you learn a fundamental, then those gaps would get much shorter. It would never go away, because there is a difference between your level of thinking and your skills. There will always be a difference. So you can make that gap shorter and shorter by learning those fundamentals and later learning concept art tricks. So you can get into 3D. You can just do basic blockouts and place your camera into the scene and just draw over it. But still, you need to know perspective to be able to correctly draw on that as well. You can try it. If you don't know perspective and you think like you can use 3D for the base and just draw over it, you can just try it. If you think. We have tried it and we have failed miserably. So yeah, we had to learn perspective anyway.
Great. So yeah, do you guys have anything to add? I think he summed it up. I don't think there is nothing more to this question. Do you guys wanna have anything else? Like,
yeah, basically the same thing. Like if it's a weird, complex, complicated angle, then I should just use a 3D blockout to convey the idea, basically. So
right. I think we are done with the questions on our chat. Do we have any more questions on?
I think there is one more question on YouTube, and we have 5 minutes.
Okay, let's quickly do that.
Yeah, it's saying is any recommendations for a fresher as to what one what can one include in the portfolio who's aiming for a position of environment/BG artist position, 2D TV series?
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, Amrit.
Okay, Amrit.
That's Amrit, yeah? Amrit is doing it.
Yeah, he is doing it now.
Yeah.
The thing is like you need to keep those things into your portfolio regarding the environment design, like not only the keyframes or the beautiful framings and the composition things, not only those, but you need to keep each and everything, like the things like Rushil said before of environment design. You need to design the props, you need to design the environment and each and everything for those things. And you need to have those all assets and small minute things. Those come up and make your composition really better and environment really better. You need to have those things collectively into your portfolio. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll just add on to it because whatever said is all correct. And you need to have versatility in the way in the things, whatever you want to draw. If you are a BG artist, so it's easy to just do random drawings and random backgrounds for anything, which shows your skill. But it's always better to have some story. Personally, I would suggest whether you make up a story, you take up some story from a book or a fiction novel or a children's book, and try revisualizing that in your head. So you have different location design, you have some 3/4 views where you see the things of, the isometric views, which is important to block scenes. And then you have props from the environments, you have key shots, keyframes. So I would suggest don't, just fix on the beautiful drawings as you mentioned, and be very curious about different things. And for style also, I guess here is something where you can have fun with different styles. You can show people like, okay, I am able to do all these things differently, and not be very stagnant. You can be, that is your choice, but it's always fresher to see something very new. And I think, that's it. But one more thing, do not put anything on your portfolio generally which you don't want to do. If somebody, it's not like a boxes where you have to tick off. So if you don't want to do character, don't put characters. Or if you don't want to do props, don't put props. So it's because if you get selected for that, they'll be expecting the same thing out of you. So that's something is,
And there are a lot of people who add studies, sketches, and all kind of studies and this kind of work. I think you should put your projects instead of studies. The projects you have done, the best projects, and because people want to see the work you have done, not like you're studying or.
Cool.
Because the studio wants to know if you can draw, you can paint, and also are you able to think, are you able to design?
Yeah.
So show that, like how can you show? Just as Rishabh said, take a story and illustrate it, because that is what your job is going to be. Like they will give you a script and they'll ask you to illustrate it and design the elements of it. So why not do it for your portfolio as well?
Perfect. I think we have already lost on time. I think we're almost up.